Writing conferences with large class sizes and limited resources are not impossible. Most often, the issue lies within how the classroom is used and not the time constraints educators are under. For this edition of Office Hours, I'll be sharing 4 strategies to help teachers with large class sizes effectively implement writing conferences. Strategy 1, kid watching. Before rushing into conferencing, take time to read the room. Stand in the periphery of the room and just observe your students. This is known as kid watching. With large class sizes, educators need to make the shift from, I need to confer with every child every day, to noticing patterns across the room. Before you sit down, kid watching helps you keep track of and monitor where the writers are at that moment. Examine the children's body composure, the materials they have on their desk, and the relationship between those things. What do you notice about how the children are attending to their writing work? Your classroom is a data-rich environment where you can use this information to decide who you can nudge forward today, as well as goals for future lessons. Then bring your chair, your clipboard, maybe a notebook, and begin your conferencing with this collective data in mind. Strategy 2, build tools and habits instead of fixing products. As a teacher educator, I often see teachers trying to fix student writing as if they're in a factory or addressing tickets like a line cook. This can look like spot fixing or quizzing students about grammar, or sometimes a line of children waiting for feedback at your desk. Both lead to anxiety and dependence on the teacher. Neither supports student independence, which is our ultimate goal. So educators can use conferences to foster metacognitive tools and habits of mind that help students solve problems as they're writing. Let's say you notice a child struggling to get words on the page. Pull up your chair, model and teach generating ideas. If a child is done before everyone else, model how to reread your own work for clarity. So these are examples of modeling writerly thinking, or the inner speech that drives a writer's decision making. It supports writer independence. Strategy 3 is peer conferencing. Yes, peer conferencing has to be taught, but what's a better use of your time? You can't be everywhere at once. Try using a fishbowl, where students will sit in a circle and observe you as you conduct a peer conference with a student. This gives students the chance to model peer conversations after what they see and hear. But remember, the goal is not to have students evaluate each other's work. Instead, it's to foster their ability to talk about writing together. So peer conferencing requires what we call reading like a writer, or constructive listening. For example, young writers can use editor eyes to focus on a single familiar skill, like capitalization, but they can also learn to process their writing out loud with others. A teacher might say, today, we're going to listen to your partner as they read their writing aloud. Is there a place they could add more information? When you were listening, was anything confusing? Constructive listening prompts such as these can be tailored to the writing task, modeled and collected on a class anchor chart. Again, when students learn to respond to each other's ideas, they actually become better writers and better judges of their own work. Strategy 4, make conferences shorter and less sacred. So conferences can be short, about 2 to 3 minutes. They can also be medium, maybe 4 to 7 minutes. But if they run over 10 minutes, you're probably over teaching and taking over the work. Noticing, naming, and nudging is an easy framework to make conferences less scary and high stakes for you and your students. First, notice something about their work. You could say, I caught you right in the middle of a sentence. What were you thinking here? And then you let the students talk. Remember, a conference is your opportunity to evoke student language and thought. Once you've gotten on board with their thinking, that's when you can nudge them in a new direction or on to the next step. For example, it looks like you're stuck. I saw you sitting here for a while. Sometimes when that happens to me, I want to talk to a friend. Let's invite Sam over, and then I coach them into a peer conference. Or I might say, when I'm stuck on coming up with a word, sometimes I'll just leave a blank space and then keep on writing. I don't want to lose my train of thought or my momentum. Nudging requires you to point to something concrete, not just give abstract advice. So choose one thing, be direct, and then leave them to do the work. So to make conferences effective, I like to ask, who is doing the learning labor here? Who did the most talking? What did you learn about the child? Ask yourself these questions and prioritize student thinking, and watch your writing conferences transform education in your classroom.